UFC Fight Pass presents Extra Rounds. Live from the Fight Pass studios in Southern California, it's Extra Rounds on UFC Fight Pass. Along with Ray Longo, here's your host, TJ DeSantis. Extra Rounds.
From the shores of Tripoli to the Minnesota mountains, here we go, TJ.
Man, I don't have any Bruce Buffer in me, but I might just use that Ray Longo.
You might have to invoke that. Come on.
Why not? Why not? It's Extra Rounds here on UFC Fight Pass. I am TJ DeSantis. He is Ray Longo. We're not on the shores of Tripoli or in the mountains of Minnesota, which I don't know if Tripoli has shores, and I definitely know that Minnesota does not have mountains. But UFC Fight Pass is Extra Rounds, and we are here. Ray, it's a big one. We got champion versus champion. Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander Volkanovski. All these guys do is win. I mean, 12 fight winning streak, I think, for Makhachev, and 22 in a row, I think, for Volkanovski, which
definitely
crazy.
looking forward to the fight. I do think it is a time. I mean, they're not in the same weight class, which is a little intriguing, but
right.
But they are both getting better and better. Like nobody's hitting the tail end. Nobody's going downhill. They're still going up. There's an upward trajectory, which I love, which I think is good. The size thing is a little bit of an issue, but I like both guys. Both guys are great fighters, and I am excited for the fight. So I think there is some buzz on the fight.
I want to go back to the last performance for Islam, who, captured that UFC lightweight championship against Charles Oliveira, and did so in a way that I feel like we should still be talking about as glowingly as we did on that fight night, because for anyone to go out there and not only hurt Oliveira on the feet, which Makhachev did, he also submitted him on the floor. And, Dubronx is one of those guys where it's pick your poison. He's probably going to outclass you on the feet. He's got a world-class ground game on the floor. Most guys are going to find themselves out of their element when they fight Charles Oliveira. That was not the case with Islam, and now he stands alone atop the lightweight division. And it's one of those sort of super fights, Ray, where I think, in a perfect world, we would see, more guys sort of lord over their division before in a, it's not a title versus title fight, but still something, big like that. I personally would like to see Volkanovski have had a fight at lightweight before getting a crack at the belt. That's just me. But does this benefit Islam to have this sort of pomp and circumstance, a fight against a guy in, a foreign territory for Islam? Is this the right time for this, or would you like to see this maybe 2 or 3 title defenses into his reign?
I like the fight. I think it's an intriguing matchup, so I'm going more like that. I'm not really thinking too much into it. I like the fact that Islam, he fought Oliveira on kind of his home turf,
right,
or in a somewhat familiar setting, and now he's going to Perth to fight Volkanovski. And if I'm not mistaken, Khabib kind of called for that, right?
I believe so. That was something that they were willing to do. It wasn't like a hard sell for Islam at all.
Yeah, it kind of seems like they said it and it happened. So it's happening kind of quick. So I didn't really think about it. Like you're right, he hasn't really defended the title, but maybe that puts a little extra pressure on him. I doubt it. I think those guys are pretty squared away.
Yeah.
But the intriguing part to me is I'm really curious to see if how good Volkanovski does. And somebody put up an interesting stat that Dan Hooker was like a plus 350 and Volkanovski's like a plus 380, which that I don't get at all. So I think the spread is a little bit, the odds are a little, I think, overdone, but look, there is a chance Islam does what he always does. He goes out there, he takes him down, he just crushes him. So
on the odds note, let's actually take a look. Our friends at DraftKings do have those odds for us, and Makhachev is the favorite, minus 380. The comeback on the challenger Volkanovski is plus 310. So 3-1 underdog, to say the least. And you should go over to DraftKings Sportsbook, because it is the official sportsbook betting partner of the UFC. New customers get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more. Download the app, use the code FIGHTPASS, and get in on the action today. I have a hard time betting against Alexander Volkanovski, period. But when you entice me with a line like plus 300 on a guy who's won 22 in a row, again, I'm not a betting man. I'm not placing money here, but I like a challenge, and maybe that would be enough if I was a betting man to put that money down. But that said, Ray, there is a reason that Islam is a near 4-1 favorite, because the path to victory for Volkanovski, I mean, there's a very little margin
Yes.
for error.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. He's going to have to, not spend a lot of time on the floor, which that's going to be the hard part, obviously. But I think if it was to remain standing, he's going to have the speed advantage. I'm just curious to see how his stature plays a part in this. Like, even like when he took Hook it down, Hook is a lanky guy. Those arms are flopping. This guy's a tight guy. I don't know what he has to give up down there. I think it might pose a little bit of a problem. So you're right. Look, the odds, they are what they are for a reason, but they know what they're doing, those odds guys. Like I would bet Volkanovski on this fight only because I think he's a live dog, and that's not bad money,
Right.
But am I sold on Volkanovski winning? No. I think, like you say, he's got to fight the perfect fight. The other guy has, I think the odds are definitely in his favor, and he hasn't shown a kink in his armor. Volkanovski really hasn't fought like a lot of high-level wrestlers. It's a different beast when you're in there with those guys, and they're relentless and they're wearing on you. And I don't know. I'm really curious. I think why I'm intrigued by is I want Volkanovski to do good, because he's the underdog.
Right.
Me, I'm always for the underdog.
It's hard not to cheer for the underdog, right?
Yeah, so it's not that I don't like Islam. I think the guy's a great fighter, and obviously I always spoke highly of Khabib, but I like pulling for the underdog. Can he pull it out? He's not even that. He's not even a big guy. He's a short guy. He's a little fire hydrant. So I don't know. I'm excited for the fight, and I hope it is a good fight. At the very least, forget the odds, forget who wins. I hope it's a good fight.
What's crazy to me is looking at Volkanovski again, a guy that is on a 22 fight win streak, is the UFC's featherweight champion who dominated Max Holloway in their last go around, did pretty well the other 2 times that he fought him as well. When you can get that guy at 3-1 underdog, I mean, maybe it's a bet that doesn't work out because Islam is Islam and it's a very tough fight, but I don't know. I don't know what more you need.
If Islam dropped to 45, would we be having the same conversation if he was a 45er, like just running through? I don't know.
The styles still remain the same, though, right? I do worry about Islam if he, had to make that cut, what his body would look like on the other side of it.
Right.
But styles make fights, and I think, if this was a pound for pound sort of battle where weights are all even and you take away the size advantage, like this is a fight that Islam Makhachev should win on paper more often than not for a reason, because he has a style.
And if you think about it, like who were the last 3 guys that Volkanovski fought? The Korean Zombie,
right?
I mean, he'd get literally flattened on his head by Islam. Like Holloway, there's the problem. And Holloway, he's been around forever. He's had some good, even though he's young. He's a weathered guy at this point, you know what I mean? And just
Well, let me ask you this. Going back to the last Holloway fight, it was a fight that Volkanovski handled pretty well. Max didn't look like he was a shell of himself by any means, but Max also didn't look like he was firing in all cylinders, vintage Max Holloway. So what are your takeaways from that fight? Do you feel like we saw the best Alexander Volkanovski against, a pretty, a resembling fighter of what Holloway, was in his prime?
Yeah, well, because I go back to even the Cater fight. He was outstanding, and Cater could throw.
He was.
So, yeah, it's tricky, man. I think he had that war with Dustin. That fight was like kind of close, but you could see the weight was just too much, like the power just over, I just based on the Poirier fight, I thought Cater was going to do better. I don't know. He rose to the occasion. Like, he put on just a brilliant performance against Cater, who I really love his boxing. I didn't think that was going to happen. So the takeaway with Volkanovski is he made the adjustments in that third fight. more than the other guy did. So he proves that he's got a great fight IQ. He's still getting better. He makes the adjustments. And like, again, we're getting these guys both on their, then nobody's on the decline. Everybody's on the incline still. So
and
I love it.
And that's the question too. We were talking about, if Islam was dropping down to 45, what would it be like? Well, Volkanovski is moving up to 55. And, theoretically on paper, you think about a guy not having to cut weight. You think he should be better for it. That's all good and fair until you realize, oh, crap, maybe I'm undersized for this division. Because the last thing you want to be is outsized, outstrength, and, outclassed because you're not comfortable with who you are in your new body. That's why I said, in a perfect world, I would have liked Volkanovski to have a one-off fight at 55 just to get it right. Because this might be a once in a lifetime sort of fight. We might not get another, chance at seeing these two champions go to war. But what are your thoughts? I mean, is there anything that you can look back at Volkanovski's past performances and go, yeah, this is what I expect him to do here at 55?
I mean, I think the only wrestler was Chad Mendes, and I think Mendes did take his back a couple of them. I mean, Mendes, I think they get in some decent positions, and I just don't think with Islam he's going to survive those. That's the issue. I think he's got to, like you said at the beginning, he really needs to fight the perfect fight. Period. Yeah. That's it. You know what I mean? And I think Volkanovski's strong, but we're not talking about like weightlifting strong. This is a guy that wrestling strength is totally different. I've seen those guys. Weidman definitely wasn't like a big bench presser or like, weightlifting type of strength, but you didn't want that guy nowhere near your neck or anywhere near you. His squeeze strength was phenomenal, and it's different. You grow up since the time you're 7 or 8 years old wrestling. By the time you're 25, you have a strength that guys in the gym could never get. Yeah. Impossible to get. You know what I mean? It's totally different. So,
and that's one thing too. You bring up, sort of the submission factor. We saw Volkanovski go through some hell with Ortega and get through the other side of some really, really deep submissions. Yeah. The thing about those submissions though is they were, Brian Ortega on bottom, Brian working a guillotine. Islam's a guy that is going to work for those submissions, but probably maintain his position, top, try to get those, the arm triangle that he got against Oliveira. The fact that he has submissions, but much more wrestling based submissions, Volkanovski is going to have to really pull some tricks out of his sleeve to not only get out of the submissions that Islam is going to throw his way, but also try to get in a better position for getting free, because it's very difficult.
Yeah, and look, and again, Oliveira is a really good Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, but strength matters, man. I mean, they could say, technique obviously matters, but he crushed him, man. That's it.
And also, too, wrestlers know how to make you wear all of that weight. So it's not only just size, it's gravity.
His top game is brutal. Khabib's top game was brutal. It's funny. Islam more goes for the submissions. Khabib just kind of beats you and talks to you and just tortures you a little differently. This guy ends it quick, at least. So,
with Khabib, it's death by 1,000 cuts. With Islam, it's I'll just choke you out right now.
I'll grab your arm, I'll twist your arm. Right. He goes to that. Exactly. I don't know. I'm excited. But the more we talk about, the more I start leaning towards Islam. I think that's the problem. You start to.
Right. I mean, logic points to there. You know what I mean? I'm with you though. I would be lying if I said I wasn't always pulling for the underdog, because I like mayhem and chaos. But
right. But a lot of times we're not logical. That's right. Of course. I don't know why. At least I am. I don't know what happens to me, but I lose all logic, and I think I start to go into hoping mode or something. But
I think there is a reason both you and I try to make a living in mixed martial arts in our various forms. You know what I mean? We're not logical people.
There's no question about that.
Yeah. Let's talk about our co-main event interim championship up for grabs in the featherweight division. You see the number 2 ranked Yair Rodriguez take on the number 5 ranked Josh Emmett. You look at these guys, they're kind of cut from the same cloth when you look at their stories. Looking at Yair, 30 years old, he's only fought twice in the last couple of years, since 2019. had a loss against Max Holloway, and then his last win was against Brian Ortega in that sort of weird shoulder situation for Ortega. He takes on Josh Emmett, 18-2, a phenomenal record on paper. You look at some of those fights, though, Emmett has been an absolute slugfest in wars. And that's my only real concern for him, Ray, is, he's been a guy that's, been active, inactive. It's 1 or 2 fights in a year, fighting at the top level. Rodriguez is also sort of suffering that from as well. But Emmett, 37 years old, a guy who's, long in the mileage. I don't know. I favor Yair Rodriguez here, but man, the last thing anybody wants to do is get into a slugfest with really either of these guys.
Yeah. I think the age is actually going to play a little bit of a factor in this one. And Emmett, a couple of those fights were really close. They could have probably went either way.
Yeah.
I think he's gotten some good decisions. So who's their common opponent? Like a Jeremy Stevens, maybe?
Jeremy Stevens would be one. Yep.
Are
you a believer in that? Are you someone who subscribes to that sort of we have a common opponent? How did one?
Not really. No,
Yeah.
MMA is not linear logic. If they can
Right.
be beat, no. I'm just throwing that out there for the show. I think.
Right. I always joke with Dean Thomas because Matt Serra, your guy, beat George St. Pierre, and Dean Thomas beat Matt Serra.
Right.
So I say that Dean's the uncrowned greatest welterweight of all time.
I never looked at it like that. That's actually funny.
See, it doesn't work that way.
But the problem was that Matt originally was announced a winner in that fight.
That's true. So there you go.
You know that story was celebrating
Oh,
in the dressing room. Dana walks in, he goes, "They made a mistake."
Right. Hey, there's no takebacks on the streets.
I tell you, back then I go, can you at least give him his win money? No.
Yeah.
Wouldn't do it. I said, wow, that's really, you're going to do the guy like that? Man, it's crazy.
Hey, they never even made it good on the broadcast, so Matt Serra is still a winner in everyone's eyes.
And there were guys that bet Matt that thought they won.
Oh, man. Could you imagine that conversation to go to the window?
Think of the chaos with that. So, I always bring that up on the show, but I'll do it again. Like the fact that they became such good friends because, man, would they jawing at each other.
Oh, yeah.
That went on for a while.
Both of them are the most likable people you'll meet in mixed martial arts.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. All right. So Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett. I mean, I don't want to make you pick if you don't have a lean. I'll look at the odds again. -190 for the Mexican Rodriguez. They come back on Emmett +160. So, I mean, for what the stakes are, I know that Rodriguez is almost a 2-1 favorite. It's a pick 'em fight for me.
I think it's a pick 'em fight. I don't know which way to go.
Let me ask you this. You talked a little bit about age. If this fight does go 5 rounds, we've seen Rodriguez. He holds the record for the latest knockout in UFC history, putting the lights out on the Korean Zombie at 4:59 of round 5 with that crazy elbow. Do you like Rodriguez's chances to win this fight the longer it goes?
Yes. I think the longer it goes, it's going to favor him for sure. I think if Emmett's got the power to get him out of there, as soon as that starts dwindling a little bit, I think the advantage will go to Rodriguez. I think, look, he's the more dynamic guy, right? He can catch you with some weird stuff.
Right.
Will that pose a problem? You got to remember, so who with Emmett, the Jeremy Stevens, the Caters, they're just boxers. He does good with that. This guy, it's almost like dealing with Aljo. You got to deal with a bunch of kicks, and that kind of, you go like you box and then you kickbox. Those kicks slow everything down.
Yeah.
So you can't get, every time you go in, you get foot jabbed or something happens. It just offsets your momentum enough to keep you off balance. So I think it's a pick 'em, but I'm gonna lean towards Rodriguez in this one.
All right. I like it. I think you're onto something too, because, when you have, close fights, they tend to settle into patterns at times. And Rodriguez has the abilities to break those patterns a bit more than Emmett does if this fight does sort of get into that rinse and repeat cycle.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it's like Calvin Kattar, Stevens. Yeah, I think he fought Shane Burgos.
Yep.
These are all good boxes. But Stevens is more of a power play, but Kattar and Shane Burgos can definitely box.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think those fights were pretty freaking close, man. I don't know, I don't know who won. I did. What's his other loss?
Yeah, so he lost to Jeremy Stevens, and then he dropped a split decision to Des Green.
To Desi Green, who's a wrestler.
Yeah.
Total wrestler. Wow. Yep. And then what? His last couple of fights were who?
Last couple fights, he got the win over Cater, split decision last time out, and then win over Dan Ige, and then that aforementioned Shane Burgos.
Yeah, so all similar styles of boxing, and I'm sure they were all pretty close fights. Yeah, this is going to be the fact that this guy adds in the kicks and some funky stuff, I think is going to really offset him a lot. He's going to have the height advantage too, I think. Yeah, I think that's going to be the difference in the fight to me. I don't think Rodriguez isn't going to go out there and box with him or outbox him, but I think he's one-dimensional and the other guy's got a couple of dimensions.
Yeah, I mean, I never want to tell people how to bet, but if you want to bet this fight, you might find a little more value in, say, Emmett by stoppage or TKO, and Rodriguez maybe by decision. Something like that.
I think for both fights, the prop bets should be the interesting bets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I wonder what the over/under is on the Islam fight.
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't have that in front of me, but encourage everyone to go over to DraftKings and figure it out. Because I think that's where the value is, right? Right? You get those,
I think that's the beauty of it. It makes it more fun.
Yeah, no, 100%. We're going to have some more fun now. We didn't get to it last time. I had some questions in our new segment called Ask Ray. Some of them came in after we actually recorded, so we get to go back and do it. I actually tried to respond to the Anakin Florian podcast on Twitter because they were getting after Twitter about how you don't have a verified badge. You don't have that blue check mark at Ray Longo MMA.
Only because I don't even know how to do it, but I would do it tomorrow. But
I mean, I don't know how to do it either. I have one. I don't even know how I got it. Somebody got it for me. But what I said was the reason that you don't have your verified badge on Twitter is because you're always on these podcasts. So many podcasts you do between Extra Rounds and the Anakin Florian podcast that they don't even believe you're a real person. So.
Yeah, no, the reason why I don't is I'm a mental deficient with any social media. I don't, it doesn't consume my day.
That's all right. They're jealous over there. Why do they get all upset when you come on Extra Rounds? I don't get it.
Oh, it's getting hairy over there. Are you kidding? Did you listen to the last episode?
I mean, I heard about it. I haven't gone back and listened, but I'm confident with what we got over here, Ray. I don't need to worry about you going over there and hanging out with other people. It's fine. Fine.
I love everybody. That's all it comes down to.
And that's why we love you, Ray. That's why we love you. All right. So Ask Ray, hashtag Ask Ray, at TJ DeSantis, at Ray Longo MMA, and of course at UFC Fight Pass. I got a question here. Ray, I'm a trainer of young fighters. I've got a guy who is 7-3, and he looks like he's just about ready to get a call up. Should we hold out for a proper UFC invitation, or should we try to get him in on the Contender Series? What do you think? Like, if you get a guy with less than 10 fights, buzz is starting to come along.
I mean, but 7-3. If he was an undefeated fighter, I would if he was 10-0, I'd probably wait for the invitation. But I think his only way, my experience recently has been the only way on is going to be to go to the Contender Series, and those aren't easy fights. But if a guy's going to make it, he's going to make it. There's no, you can't really hide that, right? You're either going to win. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But if he was a prospect who was like 10-0 or 12-0, you're going to get the invitation, because you're so good. They want you, right? Like, but look, they made Bo Nickel go through. Not that he had a lot of fights, but they're using that Contender Series really as the breeding ground. So I don't know. My experience, what's the guy's name?
He didn't give it to me. It's an email.
But my experience is you're going to have to go through the Contender Series, because I have a bunch of guys too that if they don't go through the Contender Series, I don't think they get in the call.
And you know what the thing is too, Ray? I think the Contender Series is a trade-off for the call that if you do get to go to the UFC, it's going to be on real short notice. And I don't know if that's the right sort of call to get in the UFC, You're going to bring it,
you're going to get brought in as an opponent. So you have to hope that you've been training for another fight that's within a week or two, so where you can make that adjustment. So look, at least with the Contender Series, you'll get a couple of months' notice. You'll know who you're fighting. You could game plan a little bit. So my advice for a guy 7-2 or 7-3 is to go through the Contender Series, get challenged. If you pass that challenge, then you'll be ready to hopefully do something in the UFC. But there's no hiding anything in the UFC. You're going to get tough fights right off the right off the get go. You're not.
I
no
also
weeding process. They're not, unless you're a Patty Pimblett or somebody they think they can make money off of. Then they shelter you. They pick the fights a little bit.
But even Patty was a Cage Warriors champion, and he had to battle through some adversity there. Like my biggest belief is I never really want to see a guy in the UFC that hasn't faced some adversity. And I understand, on the regional circuit, there's some really tough UFC caliber fights out there against up and comers that you're not making money for, not as much as you could if you were in the UFC. But I still like to think that you're better off for, going through some of that hell prior to doing it for the first time in the UFC's octagon.
Yeah. So my experience too, just for this guy too, my experience back in the day was Ultimate Fighter Show, which we sent a bunch of people to. Quinta, Luke Romo, Drago did the comeback. Matt obviously did the comeback. That was Eddie Gordon won the Ultimate Fight. So that was a way to get in, right? You go on the show, and that's an experience. I don't know if it's a good experience, but you're in the house for 6 weeks. You have to fight a couple of times, but you're getting your feet wet. You're getting used to having cameras on you and all that stuff. Now they don't do that as often. So the Contender Series is the way to go.
There you go. This is from Ben Davis, at Ben the Bane Davis on Twitter. He's got a 5-parter for you, Ray. So bear with me. First question: what is the most dangerous type of bear?
I mean, to me, it's a grizzly bear.
I think that's the correct answer, right?
I have no idea.
It's got to be. Tim Sylvia was nicknamed the Grizzly Bear. He's a maniac. Yeah. So we'll go with grizzly bear. Number 2, thoughts on the film X-Men Last Stand?
Ooh, I'm not a Marvel comic or whatever those guys
I hear
are.
you. I think I saw the first X-Men. I haven't seen another one since.
So. Oh, I might have saw the X-Men. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. They got to ask Sarah would love these questions. He's, when he used to fight, I'd walk in his room, I'd see him hiding his comic books under his bed. Oh yeah.
Was he the type of guy didn't want to get made fun of by his friends, so he's putting comics inside of Playboys?
Well, I had a different relationship with him, so he wasn't getting away with having comic books on his table.
Yeah, that's not my cup of tea, but I like those movies. They're cool, sort of.
Yeah.
All right. Question 3 from Ben: do you know how to swim?
Yes.
Are you do you have a favorite stroke? What's your jam? If you're racing somebody swimming, what are you going
to? Hand.
Sure, like normal, orthodox.
Whatever that stroke is called. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a good swimmer, but I could swim. I'm not afraid of the water.
Right.
You could throw me out of a boat, and I wouldn't care.
I thought I was a good swimmer until I tried to swim in the ocean, and found out I wasn't a very good swimmer.
Yeah, no. I mean, I love the water. I love swimming. I do like it. Yeah.
All right. Question 4: perfect tuna sandwich. What does that look like for you? You like tuna? I don't like tuna fish.
No, I like tuna. Perfect tuna sandwich. Got to have the chopped celery in there. Probably a little salt and pepper. I'm trying to think what my wife puts in there. I think that's it. Yeah, I like I don't know if these questions are crazy, but I do like tuna salad. But I say chopped celery, and there's got to be something else I'm missing. And I can't think of what it is.
I would demand more than $1,000 to eat a tuna sandwich.
Really? Oh, you don't like tuna fish?
Yeah, and I probably would need more money to not throw it up.
Wow.
I don't eat any fish.
There's certain spices like cilantro and like parsley that really just. Even my wife makes an egg salad. That's not bad. Wait, egg salad too?
No, Ray, I'm the pickiest eater you've ever met in your life.
No, Sarah is the pickiest eater. Sarah never had an egg. He
never had an egg?
No, basically eats pizza. That's it.
I mean, we get along great. Me and Matt would be great on the road together.
That's it. You can't go out with him if it's not.
See, I'm that guy. I don't eat anything off a bone.
I've never seen him eat a hamburger, like a burger
Really?
joint. Yeah,
Okay.
never.
He might be worse than me. Last question. You cannot answer as yourself as the answer. Favorite Greek god?
Was Hercules a Greek god?
Yeah,
I'm going with Hercules.
I like it. Hercules. There you go. That's all I got. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
But that was 5 questions.
Yeah, 5 questions in one. So yeah,
Right.
yeah. I would have had more, but Twitter actually like suspended my account today. I don't know why. It said I tweeted too many times in one day. I was over the maximum daily allotment. I had yet to tweet at all. So I don't know what happened. Elon broke it.
They have a Twitter.
Yeah, like a cap. Like you can't go over 500 tweets in a day, which again, I don't know how many tweets I have lifetime, but
if you're tweeting 500 times a day, you got to get a life.
Seriously.
I mean, that's really, that's crazy.
Yeah, I could not
just
do that.
Looking at your phone 500 times a day, you should get a life.
Yeah, I hate my phone already. Can't handle it. I just want it to go away. But Ask Ray, hashtag Ask Ray, hashtag extra rounds at TJ DeSantis, at Ray Longo MMA, at UFC Fight Pass. All right, that's it. We've broken down UFC 284. I appreciate you bringing the energy. It's a late one.
Oh, I don't know about the energy tonight, but this was a late one.
Yeah, I mean, you brought the energy. I'm telling you, it's good.
You caught me off guard tonight.
You know what's funny is we're actually still earlier than if we were doing a post-fight pay-per-view.
So
I'm gonna call it a win.
Nothing. This is nothing compared to that.
Yeah,
I heard Bruce did Matt's podcast the other day.
He did, yeah. He's been a busy bee, by the way. I mean, he's obviously down in Perth, but he was just playing poker in the Bahamas all week. He came home for like a day, packed his bag, head for Australia.
Is he announcing the Power Slap?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that. I hope not.
No, I don't think so. All
right, cool. Very good.
Yeah.
All right, my man. I'm excited for these fights. So I really am.
Me too.
I hope it's competitive.
We'll see what happens. That's why they fight him.
That's right. Let's see what happens. Is right. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you hopefully in a couple of days.
Sounds good, Ray. Appreciate the time, sir.
Take it easy, buddy.